sauteed apples, sauteed cinnamon apples. So you gotta have Granny Smith apples because Granny Smith apples they're tart and they're crispy, and they're the best for making cinnamon apples. So we have our apple here, and I'm gonna start out by just peeling the apple with a peeler. I'm gonna go around the top first. There's the top, and then I'm gonna do the bottom. Okay. Sticker's still on. I haven't washed it because I'm peeling it. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and peel the rest of it. I took the garbage can and boosted it up so I could just peel the apple peels right into the can, the garbage can. Peeled. Now back to the cutting board. Still have this top part and the bottom part. So I have a paring knife here, and I'm doing a sawing motion because this is not a very sharp paring knife, but I'm also being very careful and controlled so it doesn't slip and cut my hand. So I have the top, I started with the bottom, now the top, that's out. Oh, the stem is still in there. I got my 8-inch chef knife. I'm cutting it in half. Now we have the core. And so I'm going to repeat the same process I did with the top and bottom of the apple with the core. So I have my paring knife here. I'm just going to go around at an angle in a core-shaped circle. Pop that out, and do the same for the other one. Pop that out. So now, there's a little bit of, so now we have 2 apple halves that are peeled and cored. I'm gonna put those on the cutting board, and I'm gonna cut them this way. About 1/4 inch thick. We got one. Now we have the other one. And that's it, that's one. And you just do that for how many apples you have. The bigger apples, it's gonna be easier because you have to repeat it less times. And now I have a whole plate full of cored and peeled and sliced apples. And the ones I did earlier are starting to get a little brown, but I'm not going to deal with the lemon juice or anything like that to try to maintain the color because they're going to turn brown anyway because we're going to be making cinnamon apples. So next we're going to head to the frying pan. Now the frying pan, it's been heating up a little bit. It's on medium, between medium and high, mostly towards medium. But it's not cranked up or anything. It's a little below medium. And everyone's stove is different, so this is what the flame looks like. And I have some butter here, and it's a chunk of butter. It's what's left of the stick. It's a little under 2 tablespoons, about 1.5 tablespoons. And I'm gonna put that in the pan and just get that melted. Now while it's doing that, we're gonna make the cinnamon sugar for the apples. So we're gonna take some sugar here. This is Costco organic cane sugar. So any sugar will be fine too. And I'm gonna put in about 1/2 cup into maybe a little more, into the cup. And the reason I'm putting it in the cup is because I'm gonna also take some cinnamon. And I'm gonna add probably about 1 teaspoon, if not a little more. Let's see what we got here. About 1 teaspoon. Maybe 1.5 teaspoons. Here's the butter, it's still melting. Kind of coating the pan with that. And we have our cinnamon sugar now. I'll try to use my right hand so we can see what we got here. And we're gonna mix it. thoroughly. And I know if I'm making this with my daughter Viviana, she's gonna say it's not brown enough, not enough cinnamon, add more cinnamon, and I agree with her. Now you don't wanna go too crazy with the cinnamon, because if you do, it'll be too bitter and cinnamony, and it just won't have the right balance. But cinnamon's one of those things that some people like a lot, some people, it's like spicy food. Cinnamon, people like cinnamony, less cinnamony, more cinnamony. But we like to be a little bit more cinnamony in my house, because if you're gonna make cinnamon apples, you gotta taste the cinnamon. Oh, even a little heavier. This is looking good, this pan. The butter is foamy, starting to get foamy and bubbly. And we're gonna add a little more cinnamon to this. Oh yeah, I think that's gonna be good. All right, now mixing that up. And it has a good cinnamony color. All right, so now the apples are in the pan, and it's on medium heat. Actually, I misspoke earlier when I said this. I should have been melting the butter between medium and high. Actually, that's between medium and low. So you melt your butter on the medium side of medium-low. And now we have the apples in the pan, and we're just sweating them out and trying to get them to start cooking. Try to get some, if you get some color on them like this is a bonus. But they're not all gonna look like that because there's just so many apples in the pan. And this one's already starting to get a little floppy, and while this one is completely raw. So we wanna keep the apples bouncing around in here and just keep sweating them out. And it takes some time to sweat them out. And but when they're sweated out and all the apples look kind of like this or have this type of consistency or texture, then we're gonna add our cinnamon. So we'll get back to you when we get to that point. All right, so now they're in the pan at medium heat, and we're starting to get some floppy apples. Most of them are. Some are a little bit on the more firm side, but some are actually kind of falling apart where they're overcooked. So we're in that area where it's time for the next step, which is the cinnamon sugar. So we got our cinnamon sugar here that we mixed up before, and what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle it, pretty evenly over the apples, and we use it all up. And now I'm just going to let that get happy there for a second. And the sugar and the cinnamon is going to start to kind of melt, and it's going to start to melt like into a sauce. I'm also going to add just maybe a tablespoon of water. And now I'm just going to mix it up. And just make sure it's thoroughly. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding the sugar and the cinnamon at the end when the apples are 95% cooked or 90% cooked. And I'm just stirring it up. And we have that kind of caramely consistency and sauce. And I'm laying them out flat on the pan. And I'm gonna shut off the heat, and they're done. All right, it's been 10 minutes. I haven't moved it. Now I am moving it. And we have our cinnamon apples here. And we have a warm crepe over here, and I'm gonna just take some of the cinnamon apples. I'm just gonna put them on the warm crepe, like that. And there we go. So it's kind of like a piece of apple pie when you have a crepe with cinnamon apples on top. And there we go. We're all set. That's crepe with cinnamon apples on top.